G'day guys and gal. The Great Crusade was pretty epic, but it wasn't just sunshine and rainbows. A lot of bad shit happened, not just between the Imperium and the various Xeno minorities it was purging, but also between the Space Marine legions. By far the worst situation was the Night of the Wolf, where the World Eaters and Space Wolves started killing each other, decades before the Horus Heresy was to commence. That's right, the first recorded Astartes vs Astartes battle was well before Horus went full bold jihadist mode. And yes, I say first recorded as nothing about the lost Primarchs and their legions is concrete. Both sides claim to have won the battle, and both sides have a point. It's a small but very cool and impactful part of the lore that is worth the next 10 minutes or so of your life. Before we get started, almost every bit of body hair can be justified. Chest hair looks manly, beards are dope, even pubes have a time and place. But nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, can justify or rock nose hair. Fortunately, Manscaped comes in hot with the solution, the Weed Whacker. This nifty little device is easy and safe to use. Just put her up there and bam, now you aren't a repulsive troll anymore. I don't have nose hair, so I can't really provide a before or after, but if you do have some, please use the Weed Whacker so I don't have to look at that filth. The Weed Whacker is just one of many awesome men's grooming and hygiene products from Manscaped. They have their Lawnmower 4.0, which cleanly and safely removes any and all body hair, and I mean any, their Ball Toner and Deodorant, which annihilates stanky wiener, the Plow 2.0 to make your neck beard a thing of the past, as well as various washes and deodorants to give you a refined, fresh, manly smell. You can get any and all of this for 20% off and free international shipping by using my link below. Cheers to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over the Night of the Wolf. Why did it happen? The details of the battle and the final result to determine who was the actual winner. Let's get into it. How does shit get so bad that two legions start massacring each other despite being on the same side? Angron is how it gets so bad. Angron wasn't a very good dad, but the tragedy of that is that it wasn't really his fault. The butcher's nails in his brain were fucking his shit up. A, because fundamentally they are extremely agonizing all the time, and B, his Primarch brain was not compatible with them, hence he pretty much got all the pain with none of the joy or pleasure. A side effect of the nails was cutting him off from the warp, which meant that he lost his empath ability as well as his Primarch aura, meaning his sons didn't feel connected to him. In order for them to try to relate to him better, they accepted his order and allowed themselves to be implanted with the butcher's nails. Yeah, it did not help with the relationship. Their version was primitive compared to the dark age of technology ones that Angron had, but it was compatible with their brain. Regardless, Angron had nails that just made him in pain all the time, and his sons had nails that made them angry in battle and gave them dopamine when they had an adrenaline rush. In both cases, this is not what the nails were supposed to do. A normal human with the nails would get heightened aggression in combat, but could still live a somewhat normal life, as evident by how lively and wholesome Angron's gladiator brothers and sisters were. So yeah, now you had a broken legion with a broken Primarch. When they waged war, they left nothing standing. Worlds were scoured clean of life, regardless if they surrendered or not. The Emperor didn't really vibe with this kind of war, but he also understood the effectiveness of it. The Imperium would direct the World Eaters towards worlds that they were happy to annihilate, whilst the other legions, like the Ultramarines, were sent to worlds they wanted to make compliant. Overall, the Emperor was just happy for Angron to do his thing, knowing that the Primarch of the World Eaters would be dead within a few decades, due to his lack of compatibility with the nails. So why not just use him while he was alive? However, Leman Russ was not really vibing with this. Leman and his wolves were just as ferocious as the World Eaters. However, they had a noble side, beating their enemies but not necessarily annihilating them, showing mercy where it was deserved, not just rampaging everywhere. Leman took it upon himself to confront Angron and his legion, place them in his custody, and then take them back to Terra to get the nails removed. It's important to note that this was not under the direct order of the Emperor. Russ did this as he was disgusted with Angron's exploits. The Emperor knew Angron's nails could not be removed, and it was unlikely that the nails within the Space Marines could be removed either, at least not without killing or lobotomizing the Marines. So the Emperor was happy for them to burn themselves out and then more than likely cull them in a similar fashion to the Thunder Warriors when Angron died. Hence, after tearing another world's arsehole open and going in dry, the World Eaters were confronted by the arrival of the Space Wolves at the recently devastated planet of Genna, and the two legions squared up. Russ didn't come to attack Angron. That wasn't his intention. He just wanted to bring him to heel and end the butcher's nails. However, Russ was pretty naive. No shit, with him not understanding how fucked up Angron was. The two Primarchs argue, with Angron basically making some pretty good points about he was forced to become a genocidal warlord by the Emperor, and as such, didn't really give a shit about anything. Angron then goads Russ by calling the Emperor a tyrant and saying a bunch of no-no shit that completely enraged Russ. No one is sure exactly what happened next, but either a World Eater, their brains so jacked up by the Butcher's nails that they fired a shot at the Space Wolves, or an overly zealous wolf who was enraged by Angron's heretical shit talking about the Emperor taking a shot, but either way, someone fired and both legions charged, with Leman and Angron engaging in a brawl. There was no holding back. Angron's World Eaters were ripping apart Space Wolves just as much as the Vilka Fenrika were bending them over for some cheeky doggy style. The Primarch's duel was ferocious and lacked finesse and style. They both broke their weapons against each other, Angron forever discarding his broken axe called Widowmaker due to the gladiator's tradition of it being bad luck to repair and reuse broken weapons. Leman's chainsword would likewise get damaged, but he just fixed it up later. Eventually it became a punch-on as the two brothers began rolling around in the dirt, kicking each other's shit in. Angron gets the upper hand on Leman, even getting a boot to his throat. However, Russ rolls away and crawls to his feet. Angron is feeling pretty smug. He had just knocked the Wolf King on his ass, and from his perspective, more Space Wolves were dying than World Eaters. This is when Leman's trap was revealed. He had baited Angron into a kill zone, with over a dozen Space Wolves pointing their bolt guns at Angron. Primarch or not, over a dozen fully auto close-range bolters was going to kill Angron in less than 3 seconds. Angron's World Eaters were so fried from the nails that barely any of them realized that their Primarch was in mortal danger, and the ones that did were too few and far to reach him. Leman had Angron at his mercy, but Angron gave zero fucks and basically just said, "Okay, you dog fucking bitch, kill me." However, as I stated, Leman was not here on the direct orders of the Emperor. He wasn't given the command to kill Angron if necessary. As such, Leman literally howled a retreat, with the Space Wolves falling back and leaving Genna, thus ending the battle. Quite a lot of Space Marines died. This was a short but bloody melee engagement between the Wolves of Fenris and the World Eaters. The death toll isn't stated, but it would probably be in the high hundreds or low thousands. What of the battle itself? Do we have any details of it? The strategy? The intimate engagements? Not really. The Night of the Wolf focuses on the Primarch's brawl, with their respective legions just more or less hacking into each other. There wasn't much in the way of strategy or kill zones or overlapping firing lanes. The legions were only a few dozen meters from each other when they charged. As far as I can tell, there was little to no use of tanks, aircraft, bombs, or grenades. It was just a good old-fashioned brawl where it was more or less melee only. It actually took the World Eaters quite a while to realize that the battle was over, as they chased the retreating wolves all the way back to their gunships, further proving how deep fried they had become. Russ would leave Angron and his legion to their own devices, as the Emperor would continue to turn a blind eye to their savagery. The rest of the World Eaters would be implanted with the Butcher's nails, bar their dreadnoughts and librarians. But who actually won? Well, on the surface, you could argue it was Angron who was victorious. From his perspective, more Space Wolves than World Eaters died and the wolves retreated. The World Eaters also remained uncensured, but the rest of the Imperium, including Lorgar, believed the Space Wolves were the true victors. Russ proved his point to Angron. The Nails had degenerated his legion so much that they allowed their Primarch to be baited to certain death without even realizing it. He proved Angron's way was inferior. If it was a fight to the death, Angron would have been gunned down, and then Russ would have been free to join the battle, leading his wolves to easily massacre most of the remaining World Eaters, with the few sane survivors then surrendering. Angron was at Russ's mercy, but he was too much of an asshole to appreciate that. So sure, objectively Angron and his World Eaters won, but Leman was the one that proved himself correct. Leman was the one that had Angron at his mercy, and Leman was the one that decided the outcome of the battle. After the traitorous Lorgar was told of the Night of the Wolf by Angron during the heresy, Lorgar called Angron a blind fool, and pointed out that Leman was the clear and obvious winner. Angron didn't really want a bar of it though. To him, the victor was the last man standing, the man with the highest kill count. Anything else was irrelevant. Both legions would claim victory and be proud of it. The World Eaters for driving off the wolves for proving their point and having Angron at their mercy. However, secretly they were also both ashamed, spilling Brother Astartes' blood during a time of unity. Imperial records expunged the conflict from history, completely omitting the Astartes vs Astartes bloodshed, and instead just focusing on the scouring of Genna by the World Eaters. This does beg an interesting question though. Should Leman instead have killed Angron? The answer isn't actually entirely clear. Sure, Sure, Angron would be dead and his legion broken, saving many lives in the upcoming Horus Heresy. However, a Primarch engaging another legion in battle and killing them without sanction from the Emperor is a bit of a no-no. It would set a bad precedent, with Lehman likely getting heavily rebuked. This may even result in Lehman joining Horus's rebellion, or if the Emperor doesn't rebuke Lehman, another of the loyalist Primarchs, like Sanguinius, might become disillusioned and then tempted by Khorne, as Khorne is now lacking his champion. Another point is that overall, Angron's contribution to the heresy wasn't massive. Sure, he was a part of most of the big engagements, but the Shadow Crusade of Ultramar was Lorgar's quest, and could have been done without Angron, although it would have taken longer and been smaller of scale. After Angron became a demon prince at the end of the Shadow Crusade, he became more of a liability than an asset, with Perturabo and his Iron Warriors having to engage the demon Primarch in battle to bring him to heel. Seems familiar. During the Siege of Terra, he was a massive problem, but he didn't kill any loyalist Primarchs and was then banished by Sanguinius, so overall it was probably a good call of Lehman to practice restraint and allow Angron to live. The real idiot in this situation is the Emperor turning a blind eye. He should have been the one to arrive on Genna with Russ, the Wolves, and the Custodians in tow. That way, the order comes from the highest authority, as the Emperor could then have destroyed the equipment used to make the new nails and mind-wiped the knowledge of how to remake them from the Legion's tech marines. His words would have carried a lot more weight, and he also would have been able to bring Angron to heel back to Terra. If Angron resisted, then the Emperor could just force them to kneel like he did to the Wordbearers. Sure, the Butcher's nails make World Eaters more resistant to psycho powers, but this is the motherfucking Emperor of mankind. Dude can fuck a Sister of Silence without breaking a sweat. A bunch of brain nails ain't shit. Either way, a massive L for everyone involved. The victor being whatever you consider the parameters for victory to be. I would say that there was no winner, just a bunch of losers. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be, where there's not only a boatload of Battle Mace 40 million hentai, but also a bunch of live action nude cosplays. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more ferocious content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.